We're on week 3. This is the hump week. When we finish this week, we are on the downside. This week we're doing gender and delinquency, the family and delinquency, peers and delinquency, juvenile gangs and groups. I found these chapters to be fabulous. I really enjoyed it, and I'm hoping you're all using your PowerPoints as well, because I thought there was a lot of good information on that. Our paper this week is going to be imagine yourself a juvenile justice expert. You're going to write a paper on whether or not you think the justice system needs to reform how girls are treated, particularly once they are in juvenile detention center. If you do not think reform is needed, explain what efforts should be made to bring about a change. If you do not think the change is needed, support your reasoning. So just like you, I go and I look and I see what there is out there for recent studies and what's new and updates. And I got to be honest with you, I don't think they spend a lot of money on girls because there's not a lot of studies, but there are out there. So there are definitely some out there. So I'm going to talk to you about some of them and where you can look for them. Again, you can go to the Department of Justice website and you can go to the Office for Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program. And I'll bring that up shortly to show that. I do want to show you one little housekeeping on this paper. It's 3 to 5 pages. Some of you are right now going, yes, this is wonderful news, 3 to 5 pages. But that's 3 to 5 pages of guts. So I want you to remember that. Not your cover sheet, not your abstract. I don't go crazy over abstracts, so I don't want you to worry about that. But another area for your sources, and make sure you do put sources in there. So let me help you with some of those sources and how you can find some of those sources. One of the ones I love is this one. And if you look it up, it's under the Office for Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program, as you know, my go-to site. And this one here has a snapshot of data. And this data is probably the most up-to-date. When I was looking at it, and truly I was looking at a lot of data that was out there, this was a little frightening that it was 2014 and it was current. Although there is something out there from 2018, and I'll show you that as we go through. One of the things they see, and I want to talk about that, is now you look at the male to females, but the male has declined. The rest for boys have declined. So why do you think they've declined? I actually think the reason they've declined is because we're doing so much diversion. There's an awful lot of diversion that's going on. I would have to say about 95% of our court now diverts out. Most of the cases that are heard in our juvenile court right now, as we speak, are care and protections. And those are for trials for kids that are being taken away from their parents for whatever reason. The second thing you see here is that the female proportion has gone up. Now, why has it gone up? Well, there's all different studies on that. And over the time, I've asked people, why do you think that? And I've talked to a lot of police officers on this. When I first came on the job, I would watch people I work with say, let's just take her home. If it was a male, they would arrest. That has changed over a period of time. They're no longer giving that, you made a mistake, I'm going to take you home. It's everybody, because of liability, if you're in trouble, typically you're going to get arrested. Now, that doesn't mean an arrest gives someone an arrest record. Typically what it means is that arrest record, they go to the court, and before they stand before the judge, before they're face-to-face with the judge, it's diverted out, and they're given programs. And those programs are for different things. They have a drug court, which is obvious what that would be for drugs. And they have, they put counseling in there. Part of the diversion might be you got to go to school. And if you don't go to school, these charges are going to stick. I am a huge fan of the diversion programs. I think we have so many times we have kids going to school. I'll give you an example. I have kids that went to court for stealing a lipstick at a small store in the mall. The mall then turned around and not only did that, but sued the parents under a caveat in the law. So the parents had to pay $150 to this store on top of the kid being charged. Somewhere that seemed to me that was like double jeopardy. But there is a little piece in the law that says that they can. And Walmart's one of those, and this wasn't that store, but Walmart's one of those that will take you civilly to court all of the time. As a Spencer's, they will always take a kid to court civilly. And who does that affect? That affects the parents. So let's look at the delinquencies in the diversion. And Females, when you look at what their charges are, it's interesting to see they're not too far off each other. But in 2015, technical violations were more common for females in placement than males. And when you look at simple assault, larceny, and theft, most females would fall under that. The simple assault, what do you get that? That's the girls fighting the girls. We accounted for more than half of the petition runaway cases. This is one of those that just really frightens me. I went to a class put on by the Office for Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program, and a person got up in the class, one of the instructors, and said, the vast majority of girls who run away are victims of sexual assault. And I thought, are we addressing the cause, or are we just addressing what happened? And then we see these girls that run. Why do they run away? So it changed my whole way of looking at a runaway. I want to know why you're running away. What are you running from? And those are the things I think that we can work with as a society. Now, your PowerPoints this week also had some things that I thought were interesting. And they talked about life course theories, and they talked about latent trait theories, trajectory theories. But they didn't do these based on gender. But I want you to think of them based on gender. So when you're looking at these, and you're going through the different theories that are out there, and I love theories, just so you know. Some of you have been putting theories in there in your papers, and I just love them. Let's look at them. So the life course theory says children as young as toddlers begin relationships and behaviors that will determine their entire life course. Is that true? I think sometimes it is. I sit there, and some of you I've written to about someone who taught me a very big life lesson. I had just been a new police officer, and I just finished doing some sexual assaults. I did a lot of sexual assaults, but I was just beginning in that field. And a young girl came to see me, and she said, Officer Figgy, Detective Figgy, I've been having sex with my dad. And I asked her why. Dumbest question ever to ask. Because what did I do? I projected the fault on her. Bad. But she taught me a lesson. She said, what do you have for Thanksgiving? And I said, turkey. She goes, you think everybody has turkey? I said, well, I guess I do. And she said, well, I thought everybody had sex because that's what my mom told me. Her behaviors in life were that the mother steered her that the man rules. In fact, I will tell you that I didn't find out till much later. In fact, I found out much later when she had a child, and the father of a child raped the babysitter in front of the children, her son actually, and a niece. And she said, all those years you thought that my dad being in jail would help. My mom made me go every single Father's Day and every single weekend to visit him. I said, why didn't you tell? And she said, because I was told I couldn't, and I was taught to be obedient. So do we teach our kids to be obedient or disobedient? Lots of questions. Then we talk about, I sit there and I think of my son. I said, when my son was born, I'm like, he's never going to get a gun to play with. No fake guns, nothing. What's he do? He picked up I think Christmas, he picked up a camel off the nativity set and he started shooting people. So as hard as you try, sometimes things happen. So looking at life course views, what do they see when they're young? What is the behaviors? Interesting studies. Theories are great. Developmental process. Oh, you almost all brought up about the brain. The brain takes forever, doesn't it? Especially if you're ADD. And I'm ADD. My son's ADD. I thought for sure he would never grow up. He's 32. He's finally grown up. Yes. But it would be like, do you need to say that? Do you need to do that? It was constant reminders. How do you work with those brains? So developmentally, how are we looking with them? On the developmental process, we're looking at positive life experience. This is where I think as adults, we can make a huge change in people's lives. How do we make that huge change? We become part of it. We become involved in it. I always worry. I'm a mentor now for kids who are at risk, and I act as an interested adult to them because I am an interested adult. And I say, okay, what can we do to make this better? But then they go home and they have, what can we do to make this worse? I think we just need to keep trying. So I want you to look at these, and I also want you to look at this is a another one that I found that I thought might be interesting to you. Detention. This is a new one that came out. This is the newest one that came out. It came out this year, and it was Detention's alternative program struggle to help girls stay safe without incarceration. I was a little shocked to read this. I think that it really was just very mind blowing to me that I'll try. You know what I'll do is I'll copy this and I'll send this to you in an email because I thought it was pretty interesting, and you certainly can use that in your paper. And there's my gift to you. My gift to you. If you watch my videos, there's a gift to you. Text me back and I'll send it to you. I wish you all a great week. Hopefully we'll have no snow, no ice, and maybe we'll have a little more sunny weather. See you next week. Bye-bye. Again, you can call me if you need me.